Today we're going to review the Garmin Forerunner 945. So is it worth buying? What are my thoughts on this? Is it worth upgrading to? What do I think about it? All right, so let's get started. So Garmin Forerunner 945. Really cool watch, top of the line model by Garmin. Compares to the Garmin Fenix series, which is also top of the line model. I prefer the Forerunners to the Fenix because I like the nice plastic case. So let's talk about this watch. Let's talk about its features. Let's talk about what I like. Let's talk about what I don't like. Is it worth buying? Okay, so let's start out with working out, and we're going to get to all the different stuff that I like and don't like about it. So working out. So let's start with, we've got the basics, right? When you're working out, this watch has got, running, biking, swimming, yoga, all the different activities you would expect any kind of exercise watch to have. So how does it work for each of these? So first of all, let's go to running. Let's start with running. Let's do running, biking, swimming, and a few others. So running. You've got all the basic metrics, cadence, and all that stuff. Watch connects to sensors, gives you your VO2 max when you're outside, and we're going to get a little more into that VO2 max in just a minute. But it does all the basic things when you're running. If you want to connect a power meter, you can do that. Biking, similar. Works great for indoor, outdoor biking. Connects to all your sensors, power meters on your pedals or wheels or whatever. Any kind of speed and cadence sensors you might have, connects to all that. Does a good job of tracking your GPS. So works well for biking. So, and that's unchanged from the 935. So was expected. These are expected things. Swimming, again. So let's start with indoor swimming. Works great. I really like it. I think it does a good job with swimming. Same with outdoor swimming. I like it as well. One of the new features Garmin has on swimming is it does have a wrist-based heart rate, which is awesome. Something my Apple Watch had. And I really like that Garmin finally has it because I don't wear a chest strap when I go swimming, especially like when I'm at the gym pool. I don't wear a chest strap. I just don't want to walk out there with it. No one else has one on, so I don't either. But it's very easy now. I have my heart rate on my watch. I know there are some accuracy issues, but I think it does a pretty good job overall. And something else I did with swimming. So I recently did a comparison of Apple Watch and Garmin 945 when you're swimming outdoors in a pool. Because I have like this amoeba-shaped pool in my as part of my HOA community, so I swim in it in the summers a lot, and I just do an outdoor swim and use the GPS. It's actually, when I calculate the real yards and meters that I swim versus what the watch is telling me, the Garmin watch does a pretty good job. It's not off by much. It was off by like about 7%, which is not terrible. I mean, that's okay for me. That was good enough for me to be happy with it. So it does a good job with swimming. I also use the watch for surfing. I surf, I live at the beach, and I have to use the stand-up paddleboard setting because there is no actual surf app that Garmin makes for the 945. They do have one out for the Instinct and Fenix now, and it will be coming to the 945 eventually. It's just not here yet. So I use the stand-up paddleboard app, and it does a great job of tracking my surf sessions. I don't have issues bringing this watch into the ocean. The buttons don't get sticky. I don't have issues with salt. It does a pretty good job. I do rinse it with regular water when I get home, when I wash my hands after the beach. It seems to be doing really well. I didn't have issues with my 935 with that either. So that's surfing. I also use the watch for weightlifting. Does a good job of tracking. I can track my sets. I can count my weight, sets, reps, all that stuff right on the watch. It does a great job. I think it does a really good job. I personally prefer just using Excel because I now have a home gym, and I just have an iPad open with Excel, and I think it's much easier. But I've done this a number of times. I've tracked with my 935 and 945. The workout app does work well for gym and strength training. So works really well. I do like that app. And then they've got tons of other kinds of activities that you can do, like rowing and stuff. So the watch has all that kind of stuff you would expect. Now, one of the cool things that I do like about the 945, it does include Garmin Coach, which basically means now, first of all, the Garmin Coach only works for biking and running. But what they do is they basically set up a training plan, and you can get it right on your watch for running or biking. So for running, like there's a 5K, there's a 10K. And it's similar to like a couch to 5K kind of workout setting, but it's right on your watch and tells you what you need to do, which I think is really nice and cool that it's there. Okay, So, and as I said, the watch connects to all kinds of ANT and Bluetooth sensors. So for biking, swimming, running, all that stuff connects to all your sensors. Okay, so let's get into the next part of working out, which is the statistics that it tells you, which are the big ones are training load, training status. So that's one of the reasons people really want this watch is it has those features. So what do I think of Garmin's training load and training status? So I've talked about these before. And I think that they are good and bad. So let's talk about let's talk about the good and then let's talk about the bad. So training status is calculated when you either run or bike outside. You have to get your VO2 max. I think you need 2 of them. And then your training load, training status is calculated after every workout. So Garmin will tell you if you're maintaining fitness, peaking, if you're in recovery, what you're doing. It also will tell you, one of the things I like is, so after every single workout, it tells me what kind of load was this workout. Like they give you a number of like 20 or 50 or 70 or 100 kind of thing after each workout to say like this workout was heavy or light. They give you this load number, very similar to what like a TSS score would be. So they give you that. What they also give you at the end of each workout is they tell you your recovery. So like if you did a hard run, it might say, take it easy for the next 27 hours or something like that. And so it'll tell you what your recovery should be. So what it does is it gives you your numbers on your training load and tells you if you have high or low aerobic or anaerobic workout. So it has like this balanced graph. You can see here on the screen what it looks like. And it's really great because it helps you gauge what your workouts should be upcoming, what you've been doing too much of or too little of. And also if you're trying to do too much or too little of something, but I like this screen. The 935 does not have this screen. I think it's very useful and I like it. The other cool new feature that Garmin has is heat acclimation. And basically what this does is it takes your temperature, not your personal temperature, takes your heat, like how hot it is or cold it is outside, and includes that in that VO2 max calculation, which is nice. So I live in North Carolina where it's blistering hot outside in the summer. I mean, literally it feels like 1,000 degrees out there at 6 a.m. But so this summer, I have to slow down my running outside in the middle of this, especially like end of June, July, August, and now we're in September. So like in September too, I got to slow down my running quite a bit, or else I'll just die after like 10 minutes. So I've noticed that my heat acclimation has went up, but my VO2 max has not went down, because basically what Garmin's saying is, yes, you're adapting to your heat. That's why your VO2 max is staying the same, even though your pace has slowed down. So pretty cool feature that I do like. I do like that about the 945 and think that is pretty cool. Okay, now let's get in the GPS. So, I said that there's GPS for running and biking and all that kind of stuff, and swimming outdoors, and when I use my paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard, there's GPS for that, and other activities too. We've got the GPS. But the GPS also includes things like maps, navigation, and other things too. So let's talk about that. So far, I think that the map feature is really cool. It's a nice color map on your watch. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. It can give you directions. It can find your way back to your car. Really cool, actually. Really nice. As far as like accuracy of GPS, I haven't noticed a difference between this, the 935, my Apple Watches. They're all in the same ballpark of one another. It does not impact me if a GPS is off by like the littlest tiny bit. I've not noticed a difference. I thought it's been completely fine. My mile markers appear pretty much exactly the same as all my other devices, so I'm pretty happy with that. But the maps are pretty cool. The one thing that I will say about the maps is that I don't think it's worth buying a watch for maps unless you do a lot of like intense hiking, because I've done a lot of like day hikes so far, and I've been using the map feature on the watch and navigation, and what I've been finding is, I just use my phone, because my phone lasts at least a day and a half, 2 days. So unless I'm hiking longer than that, the map on my phone is it's bigger and better. So I'm just going to do that. So while the maps are cool on the watch, if you're not going on like extensive hiking, I don't think it's going to be something you necessarily need. One of the things I do think that is cool in the maps is being able to find like points of interest and stuff in the navigation. They can help you find various things. So one of the things I use it for is I can find the tides on my 945. I click my navigation and I can go into the tides and search all the tides in my area, which is super useful because I go to the beach a lot. I surf a lot. Me and my wife, we spend family Sunday beach day every Sunday at the beach, and it's awesome. She's like, what are the tides? And we always, you know what, I didn't check in the morning. I just checked the surf report, and I always forget to look at the tides. Always. So we're in the car on the way there, and she's like, tell me the tides. It's much easier for me to just look the tides up really quick on my watch than for me to search it on my phone. It's easier. So I do that. So I do use the tide feature all the time. Really cool. So the GPS does some neat things on the watch that I think is cool. Okay, so let's start getting into some of the functionality of the watch, some of the health and performance features, and some more things like that. Okay, so one of the big things I wanted to talk about is, so let's get into heart rate. Let's go into health. Let's start with heart rate. So obviously this calculates heart rate, calories, steps, all that basic stuff. I'm not going to get into that. You know why? Because every single activity tracker today should be tracking your steps and stuff like that. That's like 8 year ago activity tracker. Like, we got your steps and heart rate. Like, all of them do that. But the cool thing about Garmin's heart rate is it does track 24/7 every second. It also has a heart rate alert. So if it spikes or something like that, you can set it to what you would like it to be. Very similar to Apple's big feature. So that's kind of neat, I guess. I personally haven't ever had a need for it, but I could understand why it's a very beneficial feature. So I'm glad they're including things like that and following that trend to include some of those very important health metrics for people. Some of the other health metrics that it does have respiration rate, which is your breathing. I personally have not found this feature useful whatsoever so far. It's kind of cool to see like what my breath rate per minute is throughout the day, at night, and while I'm working out, but I haven't been able to use it for anything so far. I do understand why someone could like it, especially if they're doing like any kind of outdoor like training to where they're changing elevation and stuff. I think it could be useful, or maybe when you have a respiratory illness, but I haven't personally found the feature useful, but I like seeing more features and I'm glad something's there. And if I did notice a trend where it was off, I would start to question why. Same thing with your Pulse OX. So it does give you your pulse, like oxygen level. And I pretty much have the same thing with respiration rate. Like, this has not helped me at all. It's a huge battery kill. So if you have Pulse OX on all day long, it will drain and kill your battery. I only have it on at night right now, and you can turn it off. But I have it on at night just to monitor it. And again, I haven't noticed that benefiting me whatsoever at all to have it on at night. I've been trying to see if maybe I have sleep apnea or something, but I haven't noticed any weird trends in it. One of the things I will say about Pulse OX, I'm going to do a video on this. I haven't yet, but I did do an experiment where I tested my Pulse OX versus an actual meter from the doctor. And basically what I found is that very consistently, the Pulse OX on my watch is about 5 to 7 points lower than what the meter says. Because the meter will always say that I'm like 98, 99, whereas my watch always says I'm like somewhere between 93 and 95. So the good thing is that it's reliable. It's reliably incorrect, off by 7, which tells me if this changes and all of a sudden I notice it's like 80 and I'm having problems breathing, hey, probably an issue. The OX sensor, real one, would probably tell me the same kind of thing. So it does seem reliable. It just seems incorrect, an incorrect number compared to the accurate meter. So I'm going to do a video on that eventually. I just have not gotten there yet. But I do think it's nice. I'm glad they have the Pulse OX sensor. I do see the value of it. I've heard of people being able to catch their sleep apnea because they notice it'll be like 93 all night, and then all of a sudden they'll have like an hour where it dropped to like 80 something. So I do think that it's a cool feature, and I like it, especially for those doing altitude training and stuff. That's where it's going to be really useful. But even for me, I do find the feature cool. I'm glad they have it. It is nice, but it's a battery kill. So while I'm on that, let me talk about battery. I mentioned battery. So the battery of this watch definitely does not last as long as a 935. My 935, I could get by with like 2 weeks, maybe even longer sometimes without charging the battery. This watch, It's got more features. I'm using a lot more, and I'll talk about music soon and that on battery drain and stuff. But I'm doing a lot more with this watch, so my battery's more like 3 to 7 days, and that just depends on my use and what I'm doing. You know, I've turned off like Pulso X all day because that was like a 3-day charge minimum. Like it was 3 days, half the charge, with Pulso X going all day long. So I only do that at night now. But like using things like music, working out a lot and stuff, it's going to be like a 5-day charge, like every 5 days or something. So I'd say on average that's about where I am. So the battery's good, not bad. But here's the cool thing. I know that if I'm going to do like a super long, week-long hike, or I'm doing like a very extensive long workout or something, I know how to save the battery with the watch so it'll easily last the whole entire time. I'm using all the features for the most part because I don't care if the battery only lasts 4 or 5 days. That's fine. Like I'll use all the features, doesn't matter. But if I'm conserving the battery, I know that I can do that, and I know the watch will last like a week or two on a full charge. So anyway, just wanted to kind of get that out there, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the other things like music that use the battery. I'm getting there, just not there yet. Okay, so next health feature I want to talk about, body battery and stress. I've done some videos on this saying, is body battery worth it? So basically what body battery and stress are: stress is the watch measuring your heart rate variability, which is the time between heartbeats. So when your heart rate variability is really low, that's a bad thing. That means your heart's beating faster. So your stress is actually going up. When your heart rate variability is high, that means the beats are longer, your heart rate's beating slower, you're less stressed. Your HRV, heart rate variability, goes, your stress level goes down. So body battery is this number from 0 to 100 that measures your heart rate variability, your stress level. So these two things are linked together, and gives you a number. Are you recovered? It's at 100. Are you not recovered? It's at a 0. So every single day as you go through your day, when you mow the lawn, when you do activities, when you're stressed, your heart rate, your body battery goes down. And then when you sleep at night, recover and relax, your body battery goes up. So it tracks you. Now, I've done extensive testing on this thing, and I gotta tell you, I am super impressed by this. I love this feature. I think it's awesome. I really do. I've tested it when I'm sick. I've tested it when I've got a migraine. I've tested it when I got a bad night's sleep. I've tested it when I drink alcohol. I've tested it when I've worked out a lot, when I've done nothing all day, and it captures it. It is so cool. It just captures all this stuff. Like, I'm just like amazed that it does so well. So this is one of the features that I think is totally worth you getting a Garmin watch with body battery to have, because the feature's awesome. It really is the one thing that actually tracks me. I'm so impressed by the feature. I think it's awesome. And as they improve it even further, it's just going to be better and better. Like I love the feature. I think the stress and body battery feature on the Garmin watches are awesome. Now I did get stress on my 935. I just didn't get the number interpretation. And I think the number interpretation is helpful. So, you know, it is a big feature and is cool. So I do love body battery. The other thing the watch has is temperature. And this is a feature that I actually am using. Now, the temperature is not correct because I'm never sure, like, is it measuring the air temperature or like your temperature, or like a combination of both, which is what I think it actually is, a combination of both. And I'll tell you why in a sec. So what I've noticed is that, like, if I'm sitting in the sun, my temperature will go up to like 100 degrees. There's no way I'm up to 100 degrees if I took my temperature internally. But I'll notice like the temperature will fly up because the sun's like beating on it. And that's like when I'm at my pool or the beach, it'll go up really high. So I do notice that stuff like that. And when I'm like in the water, especially in the ocean, like it'll go down to the water temp pretty quick. And there's no way my body's like, 70 degrees or whatever. So I do know that. So what I notice when I work out, though, is I can gauge when I'm working out, I do find the temperature sensor useful, especially like when I'm lifting weights in my garage or I'm running and it's really hot out in the summer. I can see, like, as I'm starting my workout, that my body temperature, the watch might just say like 84 degrees. But as I get really hot in my workout, as I get close to that 90, 91 degree mark on my watch while I'm working out, I know that I'll start to get actually a little lightheaded. I've almost been able to pay attention to where I get lightheaded and what the temperature of my watch says. So I know if my watch is saying a certain temperature while I'm working out and I'm sweating really heavily, I probably need to slow down a little bit, or I need to take a break, or I need to have some water. And so I found that really useful. And I think for someone who maybe overheats or has a problem with heat, I think that temperature setting is really cool, very useful for them. And I've been using it for that. Not that I have issues in the heat, but I mean, it's just really hot where I live, and you do have to pay attention and be mindful of it, especially like in the early summer when you're just getting acclimated to it. So I think that temperature setting can tell you a lot while you're working out. I do think it's kind of cool. I like it. All right. Then let's get into other things that Garmin does. Oh, the last thing, the last health metric I want to talk about before I get into like the smartphone features is sleep. So does Garmin watch track your sleep? Yes, I mean all these high-end watches should be tracking your sleep, but let's talk about that really quick. So yes, it tracks your sleep. No, I do not think there's a such thing as any ring or heart rate watch monitor kind of thing that does an excellent job of tracking your sleep. I've tested them all. I have issues with all of them. They all seem to have issues. Like they're all good at telling, if you're consistent, they will be very good at telling you when you went to bed and when you woke up. What they're bad at is like, let's say I'm up for 3 hours in the night. It might say the watch will tell me my body battery was bad then and stuff like that. But the sleep tracking itself, it doesn't do a great job of recognizing that I was laying awake in bed. And I found that with all of these devices. So I don't think they're perfect. I think they do an okay job. I think it's kind of cool, but I get a lot more info out of body battery than I do from sleep tracking. If you really want to get and analyze your sleep and that's what you're into, I really think you need one of the head sensors that you can buy, but those look so terribly uncomfortable. I don't even want to test it out. And I've tested all the rings. I've tested the wrist-based monitors. I've not really been super impressed with any of them. I think body battery tells me tons about my sleep versus the actual sleep tracking settings. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. I'm not a huge fan of sleep tracking on any of these devices, but it does do it, and it does a fine job. And they are coming out with some advanced sleep metrics that are supposed to be pretty cool. They're just not out yet, and they're supposed to tell you a lot more. We'll see when they come out what they really do. Okay, now let's get into the smartwatch stuff. So what does it do, smartwatch stuff? So it plays music. I think the music feature is actually really cool. I use my Apple AirPods. Works great, connects right to them, no issues. They work just as well and just as bad as they do with my Apple Watch or anything else, because there are some specific problems with AirPods. But they work fine. They connect really easily. I pay for Spotify, and the watch connects to my Spotify account really easily. It's actually really simple. The music is pretty intuitive and great. The only downfall with the music is while you're working out, it's not super convenient to like switch songs or change the volume. So I found that to be a little bit of an issue. I think that's like a UI, user interface issue that Garmin needs to work on a little bit with their music. I think they need to make it a little easier to change songs, change volume while you're working out. But otherwise, I think it's really good. And as long as you have a playlist you like and a volume you like, I think it's great. I use it all the time and I like it. So it's a good feature. It's nice. Very good feature. I'm glad they included music. It is a huge battery kill, so be prepared for that. All right, other smartwatch things. Yes, it takes texts and all your notifications from your phone. You've got to be obviously connected to your phone to do it. So that's kind of cool. It does show you when you're on calls, allows you to accept or reject calls. So stuff like that, it does. It's not going to be as good as like an Apple Watch where you can like talk on the phone and stuff like that, but it does a good job. I can see my texts, tells me all that kind of stuff pretty good and easily. Even like when I'm at the pool and my phone's on the side and I'm in the pool, I get all my texts on my phone, which is neat. There is Garmin Pay. To be honest, I've never used Garmin Pay or Apple Pay. I guess they're cool. I just don't need to give my credit card to like another company. But I can see why and where it's useful. The phone does have safety tracking on it. So like while you're working out, it can detect where you are if there was like an incident. You do have to have your phone on you for that to be working, which I think is a downfall of it. That's why I think these watches need LTE. That's a whole other discussion. And finally, final smart thing is syncing. It does sync with your phone. I don't really have issues syncing to my iPhone. I know some people do from time to time. I guess every once in a while I do, and it just usually means I got to restart my phone or watch because I just have it in a long time. So I do that, and it usually solves the problem. Additionally, you can always connect your watch to your computer and upload your workouts that way. That's what I did when Garmin was down for a little bit. I just put all my watches directly on the computer, all my workouts. And it does connect via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so I don't really have any issues. It's very seamless. I think it's up pretty good. It's doing a good job of doing all the connecting and stuff. So is it worth buying? I think it's definitely worth getting. I love the 945. Is it worth upgrading from the 935? I think that body battery, I think that music, and I think having a heart rate sensor while you swim, if you do any of those things, or maps, it's definitely worth it. If you don't care about any of that, nah, it's definitely not worth it. The 935 is an awesome watch. Is it worth waiting for the next version, which is supposedly the 955? Depends, you know, they're calling for it coming out spring of 21. If you want to wait. I mean, maybe you just want to get this one and have it and then sell it when the 955 comes out. Or maybe you're just going to get one now and you don't care. Like, I think the big feature the 955 is going to have is LTE. I think if you don't care about LTE, I don't think it's worth. I think you might as well just get this one now. I think if you really want and are waiting for an LTE watch, I'd say probably wait for the LTE watch. That's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. I love the 945. I think it's a great watch. Thank y'all. Later.